Hey everyone! Today we're diving straight into the video where I'm sharing my favorite composition tips when it comes to taking portraits in indoor locations. I'm using the Sony a7 IV camera body and I'm starting off on the 85mm f1.4 GM lens. This brings me to my first tip, which is to use a long lens when taking photos indoors. Might get you to maybe crouch or sit. Yeah, so we've got like the sun behind you. That looks so cool crouching there. So I'm just making use of the backlight that we have coming into the studio at the moment. And I'm just using the white wall as a background of our shot here, but it looks really nice. With a telephoto lens like an 85 or a 135mm, the compression of these focal lengths means you're not going to see as much of the background compared to using a wide-angle lens. This is helpful to be able to use a smaller area for your background. In this case, I really love the lighting here, but I only had a small section of plain white wall to work with. By using an 85mm, I was easily able to frame my shot to not include any of the window. Aside from that, a longer lens can also be helpful to isolate your subject against backgrounds with more detail. Now I am including more of the window in the shot, but because of my long focal length, we have some good background to foreground separation to help Bella stand out against the busier backdrop. The downside of using a long lens indoors is you might not always have the space to get the compositions you want. You can see me struggling here as I can't move any further back. Luckily, I was just able to get the composition I was after. If you find yourself shooting in a tight spot, then move down one prime focal length. So in this case, I could decide to use a focal length between around 50 to 85mm. By the way, in case you haven't seen it yet, I also have a composition tips video for using a 24 to 70mm lens for outdoor portraits, and I'll leave it linked down below if you want to watch it. Might even change my lens so I can get more of like a full body shot. So I'm going to switch over to my GM 35 1.4 because I want to get a full body shot in this spot as well. Just think it'll look really nice. The sun's kind of gone behind a cloud at the moment, but it should still look good. Ooh, that's cool. On the other hand, you could decide to use a wide-angle lens to purposely include more of your environment in the frame instead. This is great if you have an interesting indoor location with nice details or textures that you want to incorporate into your photos. And then did you also want to sit, oh yeah. Get like a landscape shot there. You can see what a big difference using an 85mm versus a 35mm indoor makes. In the 85 shot, Bella is so prominent in the frame and the window is just a blur in the background. In the 35mm photo, there is more of a balance between Bella and the background. I could get like, there's a dead spider there too. I wanted to shoot from like a bit of a low angle. If you wanted to like lean towards the lens with your body. Yeah. Something to keep in mind is that you don't always have to choose a single focal length to use. In the case of this photo shoot, I knew I wanted to use both a telephoto and wide-angle lens together to create a story of photos with a variety of compositions and looks. So I will be switching again throughout this photo shoot. I think the 85 and 35mm focal lengths work really well together, where the 85 can isolate your subject and the 35 can be used to incorporate more of the background and tell a story with your set of photos. Oh, that's nice. When you're taking photos indoors and using backdrops like windows or brick walls, there are usually going to be lots of lines, which are super important to keep in mind for your portrait compositions. With this window backdrop, I'm keeping two things in particular in mind. The first is to make use of leading lines. I'm taking these photos at an angle to the window, so the wall and window can act as a leaning line towards Bella. This makes the photo look really dynamic and eye-catching. Love that. Yeah, I like your elbow up on the windowsill. Do you want to try, if you have your hand hanging down, you kind of grab like your other hand like that, yeah. The second thing I'm keeping in mind is trying not to have any prominent lines going right through her head. In one of the shots, you can see a window pane going through her head, but the light is so dynamic in that shot, and I am shooting at a shallow depth of field, so I think I just get away with it in that frame. In the rest of the photos, you'll notice I'm framing Bella to be right in the middle of the two vertical window frames. We'll get a couple of full body shots here as well. So cool shot. You want it to lean out kind of with like your hips up against the window, and you can kind of hunch over a little. Yeah.
By the way, if you like the look of my edited photos, I always use my own Lightroom presets to edit all my work, which are available on my website, digitalfilmactions.com. I have presets to give your photography different looks depending on your style or the style of your photo shoot. For this session, I decided to edit the photos with my Florence Lightroom preset for the soft, rosy look it adds to photos. I'll leave a link to this preset in my description if you want to see more.
And then maybe we'll take, if you can take a step out, thought it would be cool for this shot if you wanted to just kind of have a little bit of movement. You can kind of swing your arms a little, yeah, stretch them out. That's really nice.
I think it's also helpful to share the photos that didn't work. I really love this pose here, but the framing just feels a little bit off. The lines in the frame are neither straight nor are they leading your eyes anywhere like the previous photos. We also have this line towards the floor, which is so close to the edge of the frame. I would recommend to either crop that out or step back and include more of the floor in the shot to make it feel more balanced. Something else that doesn't work is the way the window finishes on the left-hand side. So this is a beautiful pose by Bella, but unfortunately my composition here just isn't strong enough for me to decide to edit this photo.
Oh, now the sun's going. Classic.
My next tip is to look for different elements of your location to use in your portraits. While I do love having some clean photos against the plain wall, maybe in your case you're using a colored backdrop for example, I think it also helps add interest to your set of photos to include texture in your backgrounds as well. In this studio, I have these huge windows with beautiful natural light that I decided to use for my backdrop as well. If you don't have windows like this, you can think about bringing a muslin backdrop, a different colored backdrop to use. Maybe there's a brick wall in the studio or curtains already hanging.
So I've switched back to my 85mm because I want to get some direct light close-up shots here. And it's kind of perfect because the sun went behind a cloud just now, so the lighting is really diffused for these.
I personally like to use at least 2 different locations throughout a creative portrait session to add some variety to the photos. A little trick I like to do is have photos with only the 2 locations, so some photos with just the white wall and other photos with mostly the window. Then I also create what I like to call transition photos. These photos will have predominantly the white wall but a little hint of the window or vice versa, which can help tie in the whole photo shoot story together.
Oh, sorry, I'm trying to get it to focus on your other eye. There we go. Okay, the sun's coming back a little bit, so we're gonna get some harsher light in these shots now. Stand up so you can have your face up towards the sun a little bit more.
While I'm making use of available light for this photo shoot, this next tip also applies to artificial lighting, and that is to make use of different lighting techniques.
Wow, that looks so nice. Your skin's like glowing in the sun.
As you've been seeing throughout this photo shoot so far, I've used quite a few different natural lighting scenarios. I've taken photos in indirect sunlight where we have no sun in the frame. I've taken brightly lit photos right near the window, and right at the beginning, I was getting some shots with a bit of room light by asking Bella to be in the patch of sun we were getting into the studio.
That's really cool.
Just like a few of our other tips, a reason to do this is so you can capture a nice variety of photos in a single photo session to share with your client. In this spot, I'm taking backlit photos where the sun is behind your subject instead.
Oh, that looks really nice. I like that. God, the lighting's so pretty.
The patch of light I needed to do this was all the way down on the floor, so Bella had to completely lay down in order for us to be able to get the shots I wanted. Backlit photos are perfect for making your images look soft and dreamy. The sun streaming into your lens can lessen the contrast in the frame and also create lens flares. I particularly love the GM85 1.4 lens flare as it can create a little rainbow sometimes.
It's really nice. This is just like a close-up portrait.
Since you're indoors, it's super easy to sit and lay on the floor because it is relatively clean, especially compared to an outdoor location where it could be muddy or wet. So my final tip, which kind of stems off the photos we took in the backlight just then, is to use your angles. Ask your subject to move around in the space as much as possible. Get shots standing up, sitting on a chair, laying on the floor, sitting on the floor.
So I'm gonna bring the hand kind of towards your shoulder.
When you put all these shots together, you'll end up with a captivating set of images at the end of the day. Let me know which tip was the most helpful in the comments, but as always, thank you so much for watching. I make new videos every single week, so I'll see you all next time. Bye!